been a very difficult few weeks, and also with Passover, the cantor and I decided that we were actually going to trade off. So I'm with you tonight solo, and she's with you tomorrow morning solo. We're going to begin with a wordless melody. Yana nai 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 nai. Yana nai 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 nai. Yana nai 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 nai. Yana nai 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 nai. Nai nai nai. Yana nai nai nai. Shabbat shalom, everyone. So if you don't have the prayer book in front of you, I'm going to put it into the chat right now. And we're actually going to be, if you're on YouTube with us, we're going to be sharing it in the comments of the chat, but everybody should be able to find it. It's www.ccrnet.org with a bunch of hashtags after that. But it's Mishkan Tefillah for Shabbat. And if you've not been with us, the way to follow along is to know that there are two different page numbers. One is the prayer book, because some people do have prayer books in front of them. And the other corresponds to the page on the PDF. And so if we're going to be skipping pages, I'm going to announce that skip by announcing what page we are on that PDF. And so we're going to begin tonight on page number 24, which corresponds to page number 42 on the PDF, with the words of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone. In a moment, we're going to light our Shabbat lights. And as we kindle these lights, I hope that they remind you of the fact that even within darkness, it is possible to light a candle and to bring light to that darkness. There's a Hasidic story I've told before about a rabbi who desperately wanted to get the darkness out of the world. So he walked to the darkest place he knew, to his basement, And he began beating the dark, but the dark wouldn't move. So he took a shovel and began trying to dig at the dark, but it wouldn't move. And then he took a broom and started trying to sweep out the dark, and it wouldn't move. And then he lit a candle, and suddenly the darkness disappeared. Together, we are going to light our Shabbat candles tonight. We're on page number 20. But also, it's my hope that we will be that candle for one another in this time that is, for many, a very dark time. So again, we're on page 20 in the PDF or page number 2 in our prayer book. I angle this down just a little so you can see. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And if you've got cups of wine, I'll invite you to raise them up. We're on page 23 in the PDF or page 5 in our prayer books. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh Zecher Letziat Mitzrayim Kivanu Vacharta Biotanu Kidashta Mikol Alamim Vishabat Kodshecha Bi'ahava Uvratzon Himchaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. So we're going to prepare to welcome the Shabbat bride, and I want to invite every single one of us to turn to either page 38 in your PDF or page number 20 in your prayer books as we prepare for the singing of Lecha Dodi. And so, and a few people who came on late might be wondering why I'm solo tonight. We've been working really hard, and so the cantor and I are trading off services. So I'm taking tonight, and she's taking tomorrow morning to give ourselves just a little bit of rest. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad hishmianu yuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad v'shemu tiferet v'li tila lechat dodi likrat kala yananai b'nei Shabbat mikab Yananai, b'nei Shabbat, likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'man Shabbat chila. Yananai, b'nei Shabbat, mekabela yainai, lechat dodi likrat kala. Yananai, b'nei Shabbat, mekabela. Verse 5, hitoreri, kiva oreh uri. together verse number 9. Boi v'shalom atzeret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzola tov emuneh am segula boi kala boi kala lechoti kala yana 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 neshama kapna yaira yaira lechoti likrat kala yana yana neshama We move forward in our prayer books to our Baruch Hu. We're on page 42 in the PDF or page 24 in your prayer books. And we begin with asking a few questions. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yana nai nai nai, 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 yana nai nai nai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Le'olam Va'ed. Yana nai nai nai, 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 yana nai nai nai. We're seated together and we pray in English the Yotzer Or, which is 2 pages later, page number 30 in our prayer book. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the season, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzifaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over all eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. We're on page 32. Avad Olam, Beit Yisrael, loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lachtecha v'aderech u'shofecha v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam amizuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti erchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. We're on page 39 or page 57 in your PDF packets. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We're on page number 40 in our prayer books. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Page 42. Earlier today, somebody asked me if there was a prayer specifically for a plague in Judaism. And although I'm sure that one was probably written during the Middle Ages, we find that this is actually that prayer. This is a prayer that speaks about the different ways that danger could come to us and asking God to watch out for us. And although we don't necessarily read the words that say plague on them, right? We've got Erev, Ra'a, V'yagon, Oyev, V'dever. That, especially in the traditional text, speaks specifically about plagues of body and soul. And so we pray extra hard this Shabbat, this prayer, that asks that all of those dangers in our life are taken care of. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Indented portion on the bottom. Ushmor Setenu Uvoenu Lechaim Shalom Me'ata V'ad Olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. We're going to jump forward in our prayer books to page 155, or in your PDFs to page 173. As together we join in this opening meditation, asking God to open up our lips. And then when we're done, I'll invite you to pray silently through page 175, either the words in your heart or the words on the page. And so we rise together for our Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agitei latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. We continue in silence. We're on page 167, and I apologize for saying we were stopping at 165. It's 175. It's page 167 or page 185 in your PDF. Use shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh 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 shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Take a moment to think of those who are ill and who are in need of healing. This list, it seems, only grow longer and longer with each week. And so this Shabbat, we think of the following individuals: Ephraim ben Wolf Veruchalea, Mimi Jacobs, Joshua Gendel, Ann Rosenberg, Harab Meir Simcha ben Shena, Eileen Smith, Zachariah Yaakov ben Karen, Kiara D'Agostino, Yehudit Devora bat Tova Umoshe, Jill Turetsky, Laura Bellamy, Bonnie Horowitz, Lori Ann Ramale, Linda Paintner-Levine, Charlotte Ganzer, Andrea Pinelli, Claude Pomper, Edith Shavat, Minna Seaman, Lila Margolis, Sharon Rosen, Randy Lowe, Miriam Bat Esther, Joanne Jelski-Fusco, Jane Raitt, Lillian Wexler, Ed Lillian Schmidt, Esther Gittel Bat Rivka, Jerry Hoffman, Gabrielle Bat Chava, Tegan Kaiser, Gabe Patnoy, Beryl Leib Ben Pinchas Veruchalea, Alexander Roberts, Irving Berlin, David Ben Henu, Elijah Richards, Phyllis Natter, Wolf Leib Ben Pesach Esther, Diane Felder, Stephen Penny, Roberta Sandler Feld, Barbara Lesser, Nachman Zalman Ben Rachalea, Phyllis Shankman, Jean Siegel, Sherry Newworth, Celia Zizel, Paul Leggett, Phil Murphy, Bracha Devorah Bat Chaisara Israel, Diane Horowitz, Joe Wojak, Irving Butterman, Jack Allard, George and Eileen Green, and Yonatan Yisrael Ben Rivka. And I'll invite you to add those names into your chat or to say them out loud if you're joining us from YouTube. As together, we again are on page 271 in the PDF or page 253 in your prayer books for Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikol HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, refuah of body, refuah of spirit, and let us So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to speak actually about a conversation that I had with somebody earlier this week that I've been thinking a lot about since I had that conversation. And the conversation surrounded the question of fate, because there's a lot of bad stuff that's been happening in this world. Bad stuff happening to our own families and friends and our community as a whole. You're going to see, and I'm going to make mention of this, that our Shloshim and Shiva lists, which on a bad month is 5 or 6 names, has reached 12 names, as so many loved ones have passed away. And so many people are asking this question, which is, where is fate in all of this? Is this a rogue virus that takes people at random? Or is there some kind of plan to the universe? Now, I wish that I had the answer tonight, because I actually think that that question is perhaps the fundamental question of what it means to live a religious life. And every single religion has sought to answer that question, but every single religion has fallen short. And part of the reason is because there really is no answer. And there's no answer specifically in the way that our tradition deals with perhaps one of the worst challenges that the Jewish people have ever faced, which is that of being slaves in Egypt. Now, there are two, what seems to be parallel streams, even within the Torah itself, about exactly how we ended up as slaves in Egypt. The first stream happens in the book of Genesis, because God appears to Abraham, right, the first of our Jewish people, and says to Abraham way back in Genesis that God knows that one day Abraham is going to have tribes after him, right? He's going to have a son who's going to have another son, who is going to have another son, and they're going to give birth to the whole of the Jewish people. And that those people will be enslaved in Egypt for 400 years. Already at that time, God knows what is going to happen and reveals that to Abraham. And that must be passed down throughout the ages, because eventually, 4 generations later, Abraham's great-grandson arises, and his name is Joseph. And Joseph is a little bit of a troublemaker as a child. So much so that his brothers scheme up this plan, first to kill him, and then later to throw him into a pit and sell him to slavery. And so Joseph ends up in Egypt, gets thrown into jail, eventually rises to become the second in command, and brings his brothers to Egypt. And his brothers approach him, and they say to themselves, I cannot believe that you are still alive, once he reveals himself. And he says to them this really profound statement, which is basically, I was brought here for a reason. You did not do anything wrong. All you did was carry out God's plan. Because I imagine he knew in family lore that God had told this to his grandfather, his great-grandfather Abraham, who told it to his grandfather Isaac, to his father Jacob, and somehow he had figured out that it was part of fate that he would end up in prison in Egypt and would rise to prominence and bring his family. And what was that fate leading to? That fate was eventually leading to the people becoming slaves in Egypt and being freed, Yitziat Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt and starting a people, only to end up 50 days later at the foot of Mount Sinai to become God's people and to receive the Torah. The story of Passover is a story of profound fate. Or is it? Because I want to say that there are plenty of times where it doesn't seem to be profound fate. For example, we're taught that a new Pharaoh arose who knew not Joseph, and that is the reason that Pharaoh decided to enslave the people. Well, we could have just as easily had a different Pharaoh who didn't. We're told that why did God decide to free the people when God did? According to Midrash, it's because only when the people gained agency enough to cry out to God did God decide to free them. And there's a discrepancy. God says to Abraham that the people are going to be slaves for 400 years. But it seems if you do the math, it's somewhere closer to around 210. You find that there are example after example that our ancient rabbis give about God not even being sure that Moses is going to be the one to free the people. God has to put Moses to a test. God has to see, for example, say our ancient rabbis, that Moses, who is shepherding sheep one day, decides to go off and to chase one rogue sheep who's run away in order to bring him back to the flock, instead of staying with the flock and letting that sheep die. And God says, well, if he cares about that one sheep so much, how much the more so is he going to care about my flock and my people? So God ends up making the decision that God is going to choose Moses. Again and again, we have examples, most notably by our rabbis about 1,000 years after the Torah, but even within the Torah itself, which leads us to believe that the people stumbled upon slavery in Egypt and stumbled out of it to freedom. That there was no master plan that they were following, but rather a bunch of people with free will ended up making choices that led the people into a narrow place and out into freedom. So we've got these two truths. We've got one truth that says everything happens for a reason, there is fate. And another which says that we stumble upon our future, that it's haphazard, and that we have freedom. And I love the fact that our tradition represents both of those choices, because I want to challenge you to say that you can call on that choice in a way that you need. There are people in our community that need to believe that things happen for a reason. That when someone dies, it was, quote, their time. And there are other people in our community that need to believe that God has no role in this, and that chaos happens in the universe. There are rogue viruses, there are rogue cells that cause cancer, there are cars that go out of control, there are accidents that happen. Some of us have a high tolerance for chaos because chaos means that maybe there isn't someone who is pulling our strings. And other people who have a low tolerance for chaos and need those strings pulled, because we need to believe that when bad things happen, they are all part of a master plan. And I want to tell you, both of those answers are in our tradition, because both of those answers have a place, because your own theology has a place. And so as you struggle with this world around you and you try to come to terms with the hardships that you are facing, I want to say to every single one of you that you should believe what you need to believe at this time. Because by doing so, maybe you can find a little meaning in this world that we live in. And more than that, maybe you can find some comfort with the unanswerable questions. Shabbat Shalom. So I want to invite us to turn forward in our prayer books to page number 300 as each of us rise. And if you're able, we join together for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, la'tekiru la'liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kiguyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287 or page 305. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. We're seated together. A reading. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindles, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day and the candle of our life burns down and gutters, there is an end to the flames. We are no more seen and see no more, yet we do not despair. For we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We're going to turn together to page 312 or page 294. And this Shabbat, we remember the following individuals: Ronald Abbott, Henry Abrams, Louis Abramson, Sidney Ackerman Jr., Rosa Cohen, Abraham Duboff, Moshe Ehrlich, Jake Epstein, Thomas Fitzgerald, Yetta Friedman, John Gary, Clara Gross, Abraham Gusoff, Herman Gutman, Phyllis Gutterman, Mark Hoffman, Gary Jacobs, Stanley Jacobson, Harry Kahaner, Reza Kalmayer, Rebecca Katz, Milton Keels, Morris Korn, Martha Lazar, Leon Levoff, Paul Louis Seltzer, Phyllis Mallister, Ann Mayer, Richard J. Penny, Erna Reisner, Saul Ring, Leo Schneider, Anita, Antonia Schubert, Jerome Silver, Francis Simkowski, Joseph Singman, Esther Skolnick, Sarah Spiller, Rose Stelzer, Mary Stolzberg, Samuel Weistein, Samson Wiener, and Blanche Ziman. And those who are in their Shiva and Shloshim periods of mourning, and as I mentioned, this list is long. Rosalind Wellner, mother of Warren Levinson. Harriet Hainig, mother of Elise Link. Stephen Raitt, husband of Jane Raitt. Francine Hirsch, mother of Paul Hirsch. Andrew Cohen, husband of Karen Cohen, father of Harris and Aaliyah Cohen. Lauren Smith, sister of Eric Rosendorf, sister-in-law of Jeff Channon. Janet Gilberg, mother of Arlene Krauss. Donatien Laurent, father of Rabbi Anne Laurent. Mara Kochba, sister of Lauren Glassman. Harold Sterling, father of Brian Sterling. And Renee Jacobson, mother of Beth Adelman. And we announce the death, although we don't formally read her name because she is going to be laid to rest on Sunday, of Alice Scholler, mother of Lisa Westreich. And we're going to be observing Shiva at 6 p.m. on Monday, and the link went out today. I'll also be reading names of those who are friends of members who were lost to COVID. And so I have one name on this list now, but I'll invite you, if you have others, to send them to me as well. Jose Fernandez. In addition, if we have a name on the list that we did not mention, or if you're within the 1 year period of mourning, I'll invite you to type into the chat now names of people for whom you're thinking, or just to say them aloud. We join together in the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah. V'yamad divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayachon v'yom echon v'chayet l'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam v'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'la min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. We can be seated together. So tomorrow morning, we have services at 10 a.m. Before that, we've got our top service at 9 and also a Layla Torah study that Amy Winkleman is leading. And then we have a full week of programming really around Passover. So we've got, on Saturday night, we've got our Havdalah service as we do every Saturday night. But we also have our 8th day Passover services. They're at 10 a.m. And that's where we will be observing Yizkor as well. And so I want to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. And we'll finish with a Passover song. One that's quite easy. Hotzianu b'Mitzrayim, Hotzianu b'Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Inu Latan Lanu, Natan Lanu, Eta Torah, Natan Lanu, Eta Torah, Dayenu, 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 Inu Natan Lanu, Natan Lanu, Eta Shabbat, Natan Lanu, Eta Shabbat, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.